Tripping. Books have been written, songs have been sang, and wars have been lost over this subject. Ladies and gentlemen, why do we trip? So many of you newcomers go and actually get an expensive rope, put your sporty clothes on, and actually go out to the garden next to your house, only to realize one thing: you can't skip more than 5 skips. What the hell is going on? Is the rope skipping effect broken? Is the accessory bad? No, ladies and gentlemen. There are only a few reasons you cannot skip forever, and we will go through each and every one of them in this video, so stay tuned. Now, right before we start talking about why do we trip, I want you guys to take a quick look in the comment section and write, why do you think that you are tripping? So we're going to understand the exact reasons of why we are tripping over our rope. Let's jump right into it. The first point is going to be bouncing your feet to your buttocks, okay? I love aesthetics. Everything in my life is about aesthetics. The way I look, the way I dress, and even the way that I skip. Okay? And when we actually try and pull our feet to our buttocks while jumping, it looks very awkward and it seems like you're really hating on someone under your feet. Aside from the aesthetic part, it is a primary knee joint debilitator. You put all the pressure on your knee joints and they soak everything, okay? You need to understand that this creates tiny fractures around your knee joints, and in the long run, it will definitely damage them. And the number one most important thing in rope skipping is making sure that you keep your knees healthy, because I'm sure you guys have heard many theories about the fact that rope skipping might hurt your knees. So just like everything else, if you do it incorrectly, it will hurt you. So please, do not ever take your heels to your buttocks. Jump with your toes only, okay? It's a very important concept, guys. Great. Which brings us strictly to the next point and to the topic of this video. Why do I trip? So you need to understand that every time that you take your heels to your buttocks, okay, you are essentially wasting a lot of time. Okay, your body is doing so many motions in that time that once you've finished one round of skipping, when you want to try and start the second round of skipping, it's gonna take you much longer time to pick up your legs once they've already been put to the ground, okay? Now, I want you to see the difference between what I'm saying. Take a look at how long does it take for me to pick up my legs every single time. And I need to be very, very focused on that. It takes so much energy away from me instead of doing this, which is so much easier, lighter, and actually faster. P.S. A little side note, guys. Whenever I skip, I recommend doing so on a rubber mat. If you do not have a rubber mat, go buy it in Dick's Sporting Goods, or you can actually skip on any rubber mat. Go to the park next to your house. There are many rubber mats that are fitted for skipping rope, because if you skip on this kind of surface, once again, it will hurt your knees. So every time you skip, guys, on this kind of mat. I love talking about this next concept in practically all my videos, but you guys are very intuitively inclined to do something like that. You would always hold your hands far apart from each other and from the body. What this creates is a very simple yet ineffective thing. It shortens your rope arc, okay? I hope you can see how short my rope arc is. And once I pull my hands together closer to my body, did you see how quickly it just elongates itself? I'm not sure if it's elongates or elongates. So you guys can actually say something in the comments and tell me that my English is definitely broken, but I'll take the hits. I'm good at it. Okay, so once I pull my hands closer, the rope elongates itself, and what it allows me to do is skip forever, and I should not trip. And now look what happens when I take my hands back far apart from each other. Bam! You saw that? That happens because the rope simply doesn't have enough space to go under my legs because it's short. So a little tip that's gonna help you to remember keeping your arms closer to your body. Okay, so I want you guys to take a closer look to your thumbs. Okay, your thumbs should be a direct continuation of your forearms. And what do I mean by that? When you're holding your rope like that, the thumbs are not a direct continuation of your forearms. When you hold it like that, the thumb and the forearm create a smooth continuation of one another, and this is exactly what you should strive for. Why do we trip? You guessed it, ladies and gentlemen. Rope, velocity, and speed. The main driving forces of the rope are your forearms and your fucking wrists. Why do we trip? You guys guessed it. The whipping effect. Each and every one of you guys who does not do the whipping effect will trip over the rope. And why? Because the rope is going to lose its speed and velocity during time. So many of you guys start skipping perfectly well, and after 5 or 10 or even 20 bounces, you guys start losing the rope speed and you don't even understand why. And the main reason for that is the whipping effect. So what exactly is the whipping effect? It is an effect generated by your wrists, and its role is to provide and be the main driving force of the rope. Now, what does it look like? I want you guys to imagine that whenever you spin the rope, you actually use your wrists as an active force by rotating them. They need to be actively rotated in order to generate speed for the rope itself, okay? So when we skip, okay, this is how it should look like. I will spin my wrists actively, okay? And this is what it looks like when I do not turn the wrists, okay? Suddenly my rope starts to lose its speed and suddenly I start to trip, okay? If we want to use the whipping effect, we should definitely hear a whip on the ground. This is where its name comes from. And we actively spin the rope using our wrists. Perfect. Which brings us to the last point of this video, the sync between your legs and your hands. Okay, this, in my opinion, is one of the most important points that we're going to talk about, simply because of the fact that I know so many people who are actually jumping very well, only to find themselves trip over the ropes after 5 or 10 times. And why does it happen? There is a loss of sync between these organs, okay? So what happens is either their hands or their legs move much faster or slower than they should. So for example, okay, I start bouncing well, start skipping well, and then suddenly, did you see what happened? My hands went super fast. Or this could happen. My hands will go at a regular pace, but then my legs, okay? It's a classic. After 5 or 10 bounces, suddenly your hands or your legs start going too fast. Now, how do we fix that? There's a very simple fix for that. What you're supposed to have in your minds is that whenever you are at your highest peak, or your legs are at their highest height rather, your rope is in its lowest low. This is exactly the point where you will do the whip, okay? So, when I give you an example, this is what it looks like. We skip, and I'm going to exaggerate it now a little bit just so you can understand it better. See how high I jump? And right at my highest point, when my legs reach their highest point, I create the whip. And the rope finds itself in its lowest point. And it actually goes behind my body or under my legs. Now you have to be synchronized with that. You need to understand that this rhythm keeps itself every single time you bounce. Okay? So I can do this for hours. I exaggerated a little bit once again, so it felt a little bit awkward and not as aesthetic as it should look like. But this is the point, okay? So I have a pro tip for you guys. If you want to become better at this exact point, there is a counting method that I usually use when I bounce. So I simply count in my head. You could do it out loud, it's okay. It creates your bounce as rhythmic as possible. Okay, look. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Every time I count, every 1 or every 2 is exactly the point of sync between my hands and the legs. This is exactly the point where my legs are at their highest peak, and this is exactly the point where my hands create the whipping effect, okay? This is going to allow you to skip in a natural sort of rhythm. You have to get used to that rhythm, okay? If you haven't done that before, you will notice the loss of sync between the hands and the legs, okay? And this point will further improve your jumping technique. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the video. I thank you very much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed at least as much as we did. Now, don't you forget the sacred triad: the like, the subscribe, and of course, the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, put the click on the bell, so every time you will be the first one to know when a rope story video comes out. And we will see you next time.